Crisis management is an art form, and there are different types of crisis. How big a crisis would affect your management techniques? I mean, I can remember having crisis on events where I launched one world tour that just didn't happen, and I actually announced the cessation of this world tour at the same time the football results were coming out. You know, we sort of rather got one-liners rather than back-page leads. So sometimes you have to think clever. When you have a really dramatic crisis moment, and the Watson Eubank is a great example of that, it's better to tell the truth. It's better to get everybody there, talk everybody else. Don't give exclusive to anyone because someone will have a pop at you from somewhere else. Make it open knowledge, hold your hands up, say exactly as it is, and try and move on slowly, but it will be slow. My first business of all time was when I was 12 years old, and I was in Epping Forest, and I found a girlie magazine. This is a gospel true story. And being a 12 or 13 years old boy, you look at these naked women, quite appealing. And I took it to school and I was showing my friends. And in those days, they weren't as revealing as they are today. And the 4 pages in the middle were colour, and the rest was black and white. And one of my friends said, "Gosh, she's lovely. I'll give you 6pence for that picture." So I tore the page out, and he gave me 6pence. And someone else said, "How much is the black and white pages?" And I said, "Well, they're half price, 3pence." Tore a page out. And within 5 minutes, I'd sold probably £1 worth for this one magazine I found. And that was quite a lot of money in those days. Now, within 10 days, even at that age, I had 2 guys that were used to going into London. I had one guy who was a school bully. He's in charge of storage because no one would go to his desk. I had 6 guys that could talk. They were my sales force. And I had saved up £3 or £4. I was in charge of finance. And I created quite a big business in that school for about 3 months. The 2 guys would go out to London, they'd come back with their books, and every month they'd get more and more books. The 6 salesmen would go out selling pages, and I was making £4 or £5 a week. It was a fortune, total fortune. And it all went tits up, so to speak, when Chunky Ryan, who was in charge of security, no one would dare go to Chunky's desk. And during the religious instruction class, Chunky was at the dentist, and the teacher asked for his homework and said, "I'll get it, it's bound to be in his desk." And of course, the whole business imploded. There was crisis management. Chunky, being the school bully, cracked the next day and gave everybody's names out, and we all got caned. But for a few months, there was the embryonic business, and it's all about structuring. So whenever you start a business, you look at the structure, and you ask yourself, am I covered? Is all my bases covered? In any business you start off with, it starts with a set of accounts. It starts with a budget. It starts with absolutely no bullshit, black and white figures. How much money have I got? What am I going to have to spend to get where I want to get to? What do I hope we're going to get? And you always err on the conservative side. As flamboyant as I can be on occasions, when you scrape the first level of veneer off my skin, there's an accountant right underneath it. Everything comes back to that set of accounts. And at the end of the day, the set of accounts at the end of the year will tell you whether you've won or lost that particular contest. Because unlike the sportsmen that I represent or the events I stage, I don't win cups and medals and belts. I have a set of accounts that lets me know whether I've won or lost. So I start with the budget and I finish with the final actuals. And I want to know everything in between. The highlight of my year now, even at my ongoing years, is when my financial controller gives me a wad of papers, usually around the 2nd week of February. My year end is the 31st December. And I will spend probably 6 weeks, and I will know every figure, every amount, every invoice. Not because I have to, because I find it's the only way to make sure that we're doing the best job we can do. My children have been involved in our business since the day they were born. My senior people have all stayed with me for many, many years. My head of special events has done 28 years. My PA has done 27. My chief executive has done 25. All my senior people at the top level have been there, and they've seen my kids come through the system. They've seen them doing the most menial work. They've seen them starting at the bottom. Then they saw them go off into outside business, be a success elsewhere. And when they felt, and I felt they were ready to come back, then they've been brought back in. But again, ability that they have will determine how they are taken. You know, if an account manager feels that they're better, then show me they're better, because they won't be held back. But I have to say, in my own case at the moment, I can't see anyone that can add to my business what my children can, because they know it back to front. They're obviously involved in every day to day. My wife goes mental that every Sunday, when we have lunch every Sunday, it turns into a board meeting, which distresses my wife enormously, to the point of view she's not even going to cook if we don't stop talking about poker and darts and boxing. But basically, it's a fun business, and I think the people are looked after. I think it's very important to maintain your senior executives on a sufficient lifestyle where they don't feel threatened or endangered. And I think that's the way, I hope that's the way that what we've achieved so far. There's always going to be people out there knocking you. There's always going to be negatives around you. There's always going to be reasons why things can't happen. Most people out there will fail. That's a fact of life. There's no reason some of them will be successful and some of them will be very successful. If they don't believe in themselves, without any bullshit, if they don't believe in their product or their services, without any bullshit, if they don't convince themselves that they're brilliant, you know, they have to follow their nose. They have to have that gut feeling. The difference between making a good living and becoming really successful really comes from inside. You know, it's not about the university degree you got. It's not about how many O levels you got at school. You have to commit. And if you're prepared to commit, someone once said to me, if you can play, when it means everything, which this means everything, when it means everything, if you can play as if it means nothing, then you'll achieve success. So you've got to have that little bit of fuck you mentality. Don't sound too nice. But you know that feeling where I'm going to make this happen and nothing or nobody is going to stand in my way. Still, most of them will fail. But the ones that succeed will make a lot of money and hopefully have a very nice life.